it is what it is. The model of movies coming out day and date release, you know, after a 30-day window. You gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta hustle, or we're not gonna have any movie theaters. So, frankly, I don't blame any studio for trying whatever they can to recoup some of the costs. It's not a cheap endeavor. Hopefully, like what Marvel is learning right now is quality over quantity, and I think that everyone went crazy during the pandemic. And we could have sold our scripts for like anything at that standpoint 2 years ago for anything.
Yeah.
And now everything's being like held back. Even the rumor today that the giant big movie rom-com starring Scarlett Johansson just got axed at Netflix. So
no,
can't get a rom-com. Yeah, it's her and Owen Wilson. So if those two can't get it done, then
what?
Yeah, Mobius and Mobius. Then we're in dire situations. So
man.
Well,
I just watched that. Was that Ashton Kutcher one? Netflix, the one that just came out.
Netflix. Yeah,
it was okay.
Disney Plus just changed all of their Marvel shows to say coming soon. They've gotten rid of the. They've gotten rid of the date or even like the spring or fall 2023. It now just says coming soon.
And it's funny because on one of the Reddit subreddits, the Marvel Studio spoilers is like basically eviscerated because someone posted verbatim the script and Disney is like, we're gonna find who that rat is, and then the whole subreddit basically just got erased from the internet. People would just be like, hey, this movie's coming up and this casting news, that stuff's gone now. So that's the level of where they're at right now, to blame not terrible script, not terrible quality control, but you know, someone leaked the story 6 months ago and that's the reason why the movie didn't do well. So yeah.
Oh man.
Anyways,
how long do you think before we can stop going, you know, when you watch a movie you're like, I think this was filmed during COVID? How long do you think before we stop asking ourselves like that?
I think after this movie, pretty much, because this movie, spoiler alert, you can tell it was filmed during COVID. So I think we're another year out before you really kind of get
all those projects have come out and been done, and then you're like, oh, there's actually people in the background.
Yeah, I mean, like Guardians is coming out in May, but that was filmed during COVID, right? So yeah, you've got a lot of these projects which are,
and then you got the movies like Top Gun that was filmed before, and it was a magical different time, which is why Top Gun Maverick did so well. Because
you think Mission Impossible, you're not gonna be able to tell them? You think Mission Impossible, the new one, you're gonna be like, it looks like a normal movie?
I think if you're really smart about set pieces, which they are, which is like a moving train, a motorbike off a cliff,
all the golden standards, dude. The golden standard.
I think you'll be fine depending on what the set piece is. Even the MI when he's running in the Kremlin, where it's him and Simon Pegg, and it's just two of them basically running through a hallway, putting up an invisible wall.
Yeah.
That type of stuff, like the whole crux of espionage is you're supposed to be when no one is there and it's in darkness, or you're supposed to hide. So it fits perfectly for COVID. It's like you don't want a full room of people because it shouldn't be that way. So nonetheless, I think we'll be shortly away. But welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. That was a little bit of a tangent. I'm one of your hosts, Stu Pei. With me is one of the owners and proprietors of Heroes World, that would be Mr. John Ho. Please say hello.
Hello, folks.
And we have apparently professional dork, Mr. Rob Gadet. Please say hello.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. What a professional dork.
It makes me laugh.
All I said is I'm swapping out the comic books. I'm going to put up posters when I redo The Office, and apparently that makes me a dork. Whatever. I'll tell you what, though. I wish I had kept all those posters from working at that video store, because I go back online now to see what they are, and they're like super expensive. And I'm like, oh, man, I wish I had kept those all, man. I had like hundreds of posters. I just threw them out. I'm an idiot.
This is I don't know why you did it, because you know the stories of those baseball cards, how much they're worth. You just keep posters around and they're worth money.
Yeah.
How many times are you gonna hear the story? We used to put those between our bicycle spokes and blah blah blah.
You're like, oh, it's like, as we talked about in our sports one on the Sidekick show. That guy, Baby Ruth. Baby Ruth was written on that
Babe Ruth.
Baba Booey. Yeah, that guy. Anyways, welcome to the Heroes World podcast. Of course, we are here to do tomfoolery, but talk about a little movie called Creed 3, which I think is Rocky 9. Is this where we're at? Rocky?
I think it's actually 7 or 8. Is it not?
I think isn't Rocky
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Creed is
Balboa.
Creed is 7. Creed is 7.
Yeah. So yeah, this is
no. It was Rocky 5. Oh yeah, 6.
There's Rocky 5, and then there's Rocky Balboa. There's Rocky Balboa that everyone forgets. 6. And then 2 Creeds.
We're at number 9.
And then we're at Creed 3. Yeah.
Although technically this isn't really, because there is no Rocky in this movie.
No, it doesn't matter because Apollo Creed's son Adonis is the continuation. Right. Just like how I know that Family Matters is a spinoff of Perfect Strangers, and in that universe, Cousin Larry and Uncle Balky are still gallivanting in that grocery department store doing their own thing. So,
all right,
that's it. It's a shared universe. Before let's
wait till Thunderlips comes out with his own movie.
Cousin Larry shared universe.
I want the Clubber Lang spinoff. That's what I want.
Oh boy!
You kind of got it in this, didn't you?
No,
I got the movie. This is the third movie of the Creed trilogy. Creed 1, of course, came out back in 2015. John Ho, myself, and a bunch of us saw it. Hyped. We could not come.
I should have grabbed the picture. I think I have the picture of all of us. Yeah,
you could probably find it. That we were all hyped watching it. We were like, we saw the trailer. We couldn't wait. We saw it in the theater. We all went out and bought, as we made the jokes before, Nike tracksuits, and we're ready to go run through the streets.
I have 3 sweaters still in rotation of my wardrobe.
Same here. Creed 2 came out in 2018. The continuation of it, and here we are at Creed 3, 2023. This one no longer, I guess it's loosely associated with Ryan Coogler, but the directorial debut of Michael B. Jordan. I think Ryan Coogler, what does it say? He is credited by story. Zach Balin and I guess Keegan Coogler, his brother, are screenwriters. So again, no Nepo baby situation. I guess he just worked it. So there we go. Creed 3 takes place, of course, after Creed 2. And
it was a prequel. That'd be impressive.
The news came out that Rocky 3 was coming, and then all the stuff kind of transpired that, Stallone's not going to be in it. And then you're like, oh, okay. Ryan Coogler's not directing it. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, Michael B. Jordan's directing it. And we're like, oh, okay. There are a lot of potential red flags.
First time director, too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But isn't Coogler first time directing Creed 1?
Nope.
No. Fruitvale Station.
Or relatively new director, though.
What is new, John? This is he had a directorial debut. He had a full movie before it, so it doesn't really count. It's kind of, I guess this is the Mandalorian. How many ways can you say this is the way in a different context? This is the way. This is the way. This is kind of one of those,
the way.
This is the way. I felt that
this is way.
What situation was there were so many. Are you sure? Are you guys want to keep on going? But again, the machine that is, I guess, the MGM needed to make some money, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna push this movie through. So nonetheless, John, give us an unhelpful summary of this movie.
All right, so we're gonna assume that you saw Creed 1, Creed 2, and all the Rocky franchises before. Except for you can skip 5 because it seems to be omitted from the continuity, as far as I could tell.
Why is 5 omitted?
It seems that the things that happened in that are never referenced in any of the movies.
Yeah, he seems to have gotten back his cognitive functionality.
Yeah. But Balboa seems to be referenced because he has his restaurant and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Anyways, we're gonna assume you saw those, or if you haven't seen those, you can still. I think you can still watch this movie. But Creed 3 begins. Our guy Adonis, son of Apollo Creed from the previous Rocky franchises, is on top of the world. He's going out. He's retiring undefeated. Or not
undefeated.
Well, he's going out on top. But someone comes back from his past, played by Jonathan Majors, to kind of challenge everything that he's earned and gotten. And you also get a little bit of family elements in here, which are nice that you don't actually get to see a lot in the trailer. So that's pretty cool. And then, you know, there's a boxing match. Spoiler alert. There's a bunch of boxing matches. And I think, I guess I can't say if I think it's great or not, but it's great.
John, I thought there was going to be croquet in this film. I thought this ends
no croquet, no football, no any given Sunday speeches or anything along the like. But boxing, people punching each other in the face, and plenty of it.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that helpful summary. Definitely makes sense. If you've seen the trailer, you have very much the exact same situation, and you know what's going to happen. So let's already
the Rocky formula is still in effect.
I'm gonna jump back to you, John, before we go to Rob. Give us your general few thoughts of this film. What did you think of this film without giving away?
So like as Stu said, there's a bunch of shaky waters at the beginning that made you kind of go, what's going on? Unfortunate with the whole Sylvester Stallone situation. I don't think it has anything to do with Michael B. Jordan and the people that worked on this movie. I think it has something to do with who owns the rights to Rocky and that kind of stuff. But if you put that
pause for a second, yes, yeah. That is exactly what it is. Irvin Winkler, the guy that owns the rights, now owns it. Pretty much, Stallone was like, I should have rights to this, and he's like, no. We gave you the opportunity to make this film. We were a nobody, so you should be grateful that we gave you the opportunity. And Stallone's like, no, I own this universe. I own this. I should get a cut. And basically, I won't appear in anything going forward if you don't honor that. And he's like, cool, we're going to go on without you. So that's really what it boils down to. Stallone is like, well, it's kind of honestly an allegory. A lot of the stuff with the comic book writers, like the guys are like, well, I created the Winter Soldier. It's like, yep, but you play with our toys, you got paid a bunch of money. So that's what happens. Again, I don't think he would have been able to act and direct Stallone because, again, he was offered money for that script. He's like, no, I need to act and direct in it. And they gave him a chance without him thinking about owning the rights to the character. But, you know, at that point, he was hungry and you got to do what you got to do. So there's a lot of nice kind of things about.
I question if he just releases a movie and spells it different, like Rockey or something, and pronounces it slightly different, Rockey or something like that.
No, he's gonna name it Pocky, and then we're gonna keep on going.
Pocky or Pookie. But anyways, all that aside, put that aside. I was actually really, really hype about this movie after seeing the trailer, the latest trailer. It gave me old, almost like a 90s feel to the movie and the style and all that kind of stuff. And I was pleasantly surprised. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. And I'll get more deep into it when we get into spoiler territory. But all the performances, I think, were really good and solid. And just a lot of things for this movie fired. It's of course not perfect, but overall, I'm pretty happy with it.
Rob?
This movie's pretty forgettable.
Whoa! Jesus, Rob.
You know, I'm not going to get into spoilers because we're not there yet, but I will say that I don't know how much was left on the cutting room floor, but I would imagine a whole bunch of stuff that would have made the plot make sense. There's a lot of jumping around in this movie that you have no reference of time. You know, I commend Michael B. Jordan for stepping in. Like, I think he did a good job for his directorial debut, right? Like, I think he did well. I think he has a style and an eye for things. But that being said, I think that this script really lets down all of the actors. And this is just, unfortunately, a pale shadow of what came before it. Especially if you juxtapose it with
Creed 2?
No, 1. If you look at how special Creed 1 was, and you know, you're watching it, and like, I think that, you know, Creed 2 was like the Rocky 4 of that franchise. It was more of the action and everything else. I understand like the whole Drago's on the side, but it was this one, it just seems so lost. And it's just too bad because I really wanted it to be more to its roots of the first movie. So overall, let me sum it up this way. My son and I went and saw it. He was like, he thought it was okay. And I was like, man, I was pretty bored. This past Tuesday, he went out with some friends, took the bus to the mall. They went to see a movie. They went to see Creed 3. I sent him a text. I go, good luck. You're going to be bored as all hell. And he goes, no, I'll be fine. He came home and he goes, yeah, you were right. I was pretty bored watching that movie. And this is a kid who's watched like every season of The Flash 9 times, right? Like he'll watch things over and over and over again. And even
look at throwing him under the bus.
Yeah,
this kid, he loves The Flash so much. He's watched it multiple times.
Yeah,
that show is clearly trash.
Yeah, but it's not easy. It's really easy to please him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he liked almost everything. And this, he was like, yeah, it's pretty boring. He actually thinks Morbius might have been better than this movie.
Get out. No, get out of town. Get out of town. Stupid.
Yeah. So that's it. That's how I feel. It's
yeah, no, I think I think spoiler alert, if you saw my special guest appearance on the award-winning Sidekick show, the award that John's mom gave him to say best podcaster ever, you would know that I pretty much just said that Creed is the gold standard of the Rocky franchise. I think this movie, to your point, I think it's directed fine. I think Michael B. Jordan has a lens to it. I know after the fact, I was kind of doing my research, and he did say that no surprise, he loves anime, and a lot of the scenes and things were reflective of that influence. The best thing that's going to come from this film is the fact that Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors are like, let's be De Niro and Pacino and do a bunch of films together. Like that's all I want is basically just a couple more films with these two guys kind of just doing different things. That is going to make this movie worthwhile. The movie itself is kind of like, I generally be happy if this was the last Creed of this iteration, and I'm good. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't need. Like, let's give a break. Let's have, without any spoilers, the next iteration of it, and we're good. I think at this point, the story, the characters run its course. He does not need to do anything else at this standpoint. Even this film, it was unnecessary for even for them to be Creed 3.
Yeah, there's no point.
There was no reason, like, to the point of like, oh, you're just here. You just have to make up a person basically to do this. Because I think in Creed 1 they kind of made it clear like who the kid was already, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, we'll go into that in the spoiler because I have questions about that. But I think that you could tell that it was a COVID film. I think you already know that, Michael B. Jordan, as fantastic of an actor as he can be, he is still limited. The character works for him because there's not much. Michael B. Jordan just plays Michael B. Jordan in every film, in everything. He's just him being him. He hasn't really done like an accent or anything different yet, as opposed to Jonathan Majors, which I've seen him just morph into a billion different things. So I'm like, oh, every time I see Michael B. Jordan, I'm like, oh, this is Michael B. Jordan playing Michael B. Jordan, which is fine. I like that. It's like having a bowl of
charismatic and stuff.
You know what it is?
Charismatic
it's sugar. It's like great. It's Frosted Flakes. They're great. I just would like a little bit more, nuance to a different performance. So, John, let's go your score out of 10 because we're gonna move into spoilers. What do you give this film out of 10?
I think I gotta leave myself a little room because I believe, like Rob said, I believe there is gonna be some type of director's cut or some extended edition that comes.
Never said that.
Well, to the extent, Rob, that you said that there's a bunch of stuff on the cutting room floor, probably. So I feel like there is going to be an extended cut of this movie when it drops on DVD. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I love these types of movies. Rocky movies are, comfort food. You go and you watch them, you have fun, you get pumped up. You're feeling down or you're feeling like you need to, get active or whatever, then you throw on one of these Rocky films. And I think Creed 3 is going to be one of the ones that's going to be in that stack with Rocky 4 and Rocky 3 and stuff like that. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
John, if I needed to have motivation to get up and get fit, I'd rather watch 4 hours of participation than watch.
Get out of town! You are being ridiculous right now,
Rob.
You know what? I'm going to give it a 6, which is a little bit higher than I think I was. No, but I think listen, I think Michael B. Jordan gets props for his style. It could have been a complete bomb. He could have been a UA Bull. But also we got to recognize Jonathan Majors. And that guy is just, I wanted him to destroy Creed. So,
he wins. He might win. He might win in this movie.
Yeah,
he does a pretty good job. Stu?
I, like Rob, gave this film a low mark. I initially gave it a 6, but thinking about it,
I think Jonathan Majors is at least worth a 7.
And I think that Jonathan Majors does prop it up a 0.5. So I'll give it a 6.5. You
guys are hard.
His performances are worth the rewatch. I will fast forward to watch him and him alone, and everything else I'm good with. Like that. Yeah. That's the level of what I'm willing to do with this film. If it's on, I'm like, it's on. If it's on streaming, and I'm like, I'll just fast forward to where he's at, and I'll watch his scenes, and I'm like, I'm cool.
Gone are the days. You want to watch an ad for Michael B. Jordan wearing different types of Armani suits walking around? I don't understand, Stu. What?
This is not. This is not for the kids back home. There's a thing called TNT Classics where TV would they play movies over and over, and there was a time when you would turn on and Shawshank would be playing, and you just be like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this, no matter where it was in the movie. You just sat there watching Shawshank, and it was like it could have been the first 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes, 45 minutes into it, you just sat there like, yeah, even though I've seen this movie and I own it, I just watched it on TV.
Yep.
Kids don't understand that that's a thing where why would you watch a channel of a movie already in place when you just put in a DVD stream, just watch what you want or on your iPad. So I give it a 6.5. I do not feel that there'll be a director's cut. As we discussed before, that Rocky IV director's cut is French kiss amazing. I love.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, I love the Stallone cut. It is the definitive Rocky IV because it fixes all the problems. Okay. So we'll have to get to that another day with the TV guys, but it is a really great film. So before we jump over to spoilers, John, do the tag.
Spoilers.
So
those you listening in the audio, spoilers.
So those who are, so if you're already here, I think let's be clear. I think you have a sense of whether you should watch it or not.
You should watch.
No, whether you should go to a theater to see it or not. That should be the.
I think Rob and I both agree not in theaters. John is clearly saying theaters.
I love the theater experience, but I'm not going to be mad for this particular movie because, like Rob said, there are some slower parts which you might be sitting in a theater going, "How come the car's not going 90 miles per hour? What's going on here?" Right? So I feel like you can 100% watch this movie in the comfort of your home and have a very similar experience.
That's like saying like Fast 10 is really driving Miss Daisy speed.
No, there's some measured scenes and some setup and some buildup of characters. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Let me know where.
Nonetheless, I can see. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I can see the theater experience being totally worth it because at the end of the day, we know a theater experience is huge speakers, 170 points of sound distribution. The editing is basically made for a theater, and most of us that watch this at home on a stereo system has 3 channels, 3 points of all the sound coming through it. So it's not a great experience. If you have a home theater set up, you get 18, but 18 is not 170. I looked at my abacus and figured that math out. So like if you can,
I like watching with headphones. I like that experience.
It's not the same, but if you can experience the theater, by all means, experience the theater. But you know, it's not meant for that. That's why, you know, this film especially, like the boxing scenes I appreciated, but everything else was like, that's how I kind of gauge is this is this a theater experience? And when it's just people having conversations, I don't need 170 stereo system to like have 2 dialogue of people talking about their past, which is basically a lot of this movie about people complaining about stuff. So, John, give us your list.
Oh, he's on mute. What a dummy.
No, he just wants
there.
like,
I was
I did 10 things already.
Anticipation, yeah. So after concluding my list of problems. Yeah. All right. So just to address a couple things quickly, I 100% do see where you guys are talking about with like the plot points and some of the things. It does feel like some things are missing in this, and it feels like they did bring in too many storylines. They have the storyline with the wife, they have the storyline with the daughter, and things like that. That
the mom,
and the mom, yeah, they kind of didn't get fleshed out.
And the gym.
And yeah, his trainer at the gym and stuff like that. There's a bunch of stuff that maybe they shouldn't have got. Like they give you some really beautiful moments, especially the moments with his daughter and stuff like that. That is going to help some people feel included in this type of thing. But it does take away from the main story, and I feel like I could 100% use another 15 minutes of Jonathan Majors, just because he is so good in this movie. To Stu's point, he is almost acting circles around Michael B. Jordan, unfortunately. You can tell there's a clear, just the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he moves, everything. This guy is amazing. I've gone into a whole like deep dive watching all his like back catalog. But let's dive into the things that work for this movie, why I rate it so highly, why I had such a good time. And I'm just going to pick 3 things. So the first thing is Michael B. Jordan's direction. I think this is new. This is fresh. I think the incorporation of his love of anime and him bringing that flavor is something that's new, and anime is like blazing hot right now. So I think this new lens of such a young, like he's a young guy, I believe still, even though in the movie it's like, oh, he's retiring, he's done. Like, but I guess a boxer's career isn't long, but he's still a pretty young guy. So I look forward to seeing what else you can bring to the table. Number 2, the music. So you throw in some great tracks. I love this studio Dreamville. Like they do produce some really good kind of hip hop and all that kind of stuff. And then the main theme with J. Cole rapping over a Dr. Dre beat with the Rocky theme mixed in. That is an amazing track. Unfortunately, it's only like 2 minutes long. So the music for this really hit hard, and they played a whole bunch of throwback tracks as well when they went to the past scenes, which I would have liked to see a little bit more of those scenes. And then number 1, my daughter's in here. Number 1 is 100% Jonathan Majors, who just stole the show. Every time he's on screen, you're watching, you're glued to your seat. This character is probably the most in-depth Rocky villain that we've seen in a long time. The Ivan Drago, we got a little bit of taste of kind of like diving into a bad guy that is not just pure bad guy, right? So Jonathan Majors, you kind of understand where he's going, but there's a couple beats that are missed because they didn't have time to kind of go through. I don't like how they flip the switch when he goes from, I'm going to take everything from you, and then after the fight, he's like, "We good, right? Yeah, all right, we're buddies." I would have liked a little bit in between there, but everything he did, the way he fought, the whole gladiator theme with the leather kind of skirt thing going on, and the way that he kind of like just kind of moved and almost was like a raging bull kind of coming at Jordan. I thought he made a really good opponent, and I wouldn't have been mad if he won, and Jordan had to retire, but it made for a good storytelling. So those are the things that work for me, and again, I look forward to seeing it, and I do really hope there is going to be some type of extended cut. So that's my thoughts, and I'm going to get my daughter here.
Rob?
Okay. I understand why you guys and other people have commented on the anime influences and style. However, I think that the boxing scenes, the actual fight scenes, did not feel legit. Like when I've seen these movies in theaters, you feel the hit. Like you feel you're right there in the ring. You feel like you can feel like the way that the base moves as the punch lands. And in this, it was very, because I guess of the anime, he went so far into it. It was all slow motion. You could see, the hit, and it just didn't, it felt fake. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it didn't feel like a proper boxing sports movie. Let me say that when I was growing up, I grew up watching these Rocky movies before I was watching actual boxing matches. And then Mike Tyson comes around, and you started watching the Tyson fights. And if they lasted more than 2 rounds, you were amazed. Usually it was over in 2 rounds. But when you were watching all the undercards, I thought boxing was exactly like how it was in Rocky movies, where you would feel the hits were just constantly just being slugged. And that's not how boxing is. They call it the sweet science for a reason. It's slow and methodical, but when punches land, you feel them. And that's how all of these movies have preceded this one. You feel it, you can feel it, you can watch it, you can taste it. And in this, it just felt way too cartoonish. So it really drew me out of the element. I understood what he was doing with that final scene, and going into like with the bars and like having into the cell and trying to understand, and it's the head games and everything else. That was great. I just felt like it's a different movie then. Then it's not Creed. It's just something else. And it just wasn't for me. I thought that, listen, I've already said, I thought that the plot was all over the place. A lot of these things didn't make sense. When Jonathan Majors wins his fight, and all of a sudden he's on the beach with like 900 people hanging out with him, and some guys pulling guns on Michael B. Jordan. And like, it felt like it was just like Stu said, what is his purpose of being here? What is Creed's purpose? His purpose is to oversee a gym. Like, for what? Like, he doesn't need to run it. He doesn't need to run. He doesn't need to be there. He's not training anybody. He's walking around.
He's training that new champion.
But he wasn't training him. He was trying to be Don King at the same time as being like owning a gym and everything else. Like, you can't wear multiple hats. Like, are you going to be a promoter or are you going to be an agent? Like, you can't do it all, right? So it just felt like it was just way too convoluted. Like, you really were forcing Creed, the character of Adonis Creed, to be involved in everything and nothing at the same time. Like, it just, and I didn't buy the whole motivation for him coming back, out of retirement. Like, I understood it was manufactured, but it just felt so manufactured that it really just took away, and it kind of besmirched what came before. Like, I felt like it was almost like a slap. I don't understand why they went this way. I know, yeah, money, but but there could have been a better reasoning, right? Like, even Tessa Thompson, like, I think she did as well of a job that she possibly could, but even like her material, like, look at her in the first one. If you guys go back and watch the first one and then watch this one, you're like, what the hell, man? Like, what happened to you? Right? Like, it's just, I don't know. It just felt so weird. And Felicia Rashad as his mom, again, okay, so she steps into the Rocky role as, I'm the ill one. I'm unwell. And, I'm I'm another, a chip on his shoulder and bringing him down. He's got to, fight his way back up. And then you have the training montage, just like everything else. And it just became so formulaic in that regard. So I don't know. Listen, I was disappointed. I wanted to like this movie. I knew I wasn't going to really like it. I wanted to like it, and unfortunately, I just didn't. But I do give credit to, like, Jonathan Majors. He's scary. Like, and I don't mean physically. It's his eyes, like his expressiveness and the way he threatened, just looking at you, and it's his choosing of moments to be quiet, to sit there and let his words hang, is freaky, right? Like, he's intimidating as all hell. So, I do give props to that, and to him. And, I saw it in IMAX. I actually wasted the extra money on IMAX. It was the only.
It's fine.
Maybe you need a D-box.
I honestly, I sat there in the theater and I'm thinking, the highs, such the highs of Creed 1, the experience I had with John and Chris and the guys we watched it, because Rocky was part of our lives a lot growing up, and there's so many iterations. It was such a breath of fresh air in a franchise that was pretty much gone. It was pretty much dissolved. It was sinking. It was deflated, and then boom, this big fresh air came in. You had Stallone, that performance that garnered him an Academy Award. You talk about music, John. That soundtrack, I still have all those songs, like The Roots with John Legend, the classic Nas stuff, like all that stuff, like Meek Mill's, like from Philly. That stuff just crushes. And I think that they integrated, even at and it had its own rhythm and pace. And at that point when he goes out there and like they didn't play the Rocky song at all, and then at the final, and like you just get the taste of it for like the hook, and then either basically starts fighting Pretty Ricky. You're like, oh, like this is everything just in a nice bow, perfectly encapsulating an underdog story of two people working together. How difficult how the family work dynamic, working with someone who is sick as well with cancer. Like everything kind of just fit magically together. And it was something just zipped. And it may not have made as much money as the third Creed movie, but man, oh man, was it just a pleasure to watch. And then you go to Rocky 2 or Creed 2, and you're like, oh, we're back to this again, eh? Hitting that nostalgic button where, you know, we're going to bring in Drago, and then it just was fine. And then this one is like, okay, you know, Drago, we'll bring back Pretty Ricky. We'll bring back all the old guys. We'll bring back the first guy they fought for the car, or like what's his face, or like we'll bring back Pretty Ricky Connolly and the beginning of this movie, like so they fight again, and you're like, oh, I never really cared about Pretty Ricky, but it was like now, but okay,
he was barely a character in the first one. He was just
but he was still, he had lines enough, and you're like, oh. And then they had 24/7, man, like the you know, like that type of like nuance of like Sabretooth telling me the storyline of, you know, Pretty Ricky Connolly, born in Everton and born in Liverpool, and like it's kind of explaining me the backstory worked perfectly. It was like, here's a quick 24/7 style like explanation of these two boxers, and then the exposition's done, and I don't need to worry about it. And now I can learn more about Tessa Thompson's character. I don't need to know. And Rob, to your point, she was classically misused in both like in Creed 2 and 3. They're just like, yeah, she's there. Yeah. Why? So it just, I look back and 3 is somehow worse than 2.
No, you're crazy.
No,
Creed
2
is
because Creed 2 is fun. It has moments of fun, and those fighting scenes blow this one out of the water. And
then you see the whole thing. Even the scene when Drago's, you know, when all of a sudden you see Drago's wife, and you're like, wow, like everyone's back in this movie. And like just the heartache when the son sees the mother, like when he's losing the match, walk out of the stick, like scene. You're like, oh, the stakes. So things are happening. Like this is not just like he is just not like a robot. It's like he does have feelings, and he's watching his mom leave again, and he's like, oh, this sucks. So like there's just so much nuance of that film. And even at the end when Rocky, the next, thank goodness they had the bow where he goes back to like see his son. It's like, and he sees his grandson and he runs into Robin. Like there's just nice little things, the nice flourishes of the past. And this one didn't really have as much as I wanted. So again, and I get this the charm of Stallone where, you know, Stallone's not there. And yeah, I don't know what he would have done in this film anyways to elevate it, but you're just missing that secret sauce, which is Sylvester Stallone.
But you know what though? I don't think even if he was in this, I don't think it would have mattered, only because these characters are not really reflective of who they were beforehand. And I understand that people can say, well, people grow, people mature. But like Tessa Thompson in the first movie, she's a singer who is losing her hearing. She's having this inner battle. And in this one, she's like, well, I just stopped singing and now I just write songs. And, you know, I'm happy. Like, it just was like, okay, everything's, John, you're on mute. It just didn't, it was like, okay, but like, where's your inner conflict? And there was only one time where she was like, kind of longing for that lifestyle, but it didn't really matter. Like, and like, I know it was COVID, but like the party, like the record release party, was like so barren. It was just like, it was like, oh, I'd be really sad. I've been to record release parties. It'd be sad if that was the case. Like that's usually like that's like invite the third and free warm-up party.
Like that, like honestly, let's make believe that's the after party, like the third room you get into. Like the first room is like the big room, and then there's like Wayne's World area. Are you this is the after party. It's like the pass. It's like, oh, do you have the next pass? It's like who's but my girlfriend's back there.
Right.
So like that's I would like to imagine. It's just I just can't think that I get that they shoehorn this relationship between between Apollo and Damien.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those things where I was like, I thought he was like already adopted by Marianne already and on the straight path. Like, when did this happen? Why did they never talk of like all this stuff? It just kind of just dropped in, and you're like, okay, sure.
And you know what I would have really actually appreciated is if there was more backstory to Damien and being like, oh, while in prison, like in the prison boxing league, he was like, you know, ranked number 1 or 2, like just to have it, because like you've been gone for 20 years and all of a sudden you're this like incredible fighter. I know prison makes you hard. I don't know prison makes you. I've heard prison
18 years, Rob. Go to prison 18 years. You're gonna come out jacked like Jonathan Majors and be able to take the championship away from him.
Yeah,
He's
I don't know.
protecting himself from various things.
Yeah, you're a Golden Gloves, like, you know, a winner, a champion. 18 years. Can you guys do the same things you guys 18 years ago that you did? Like, no. I'm just saying, I would have liked there to have been some continuity or continuation on his boxing in some capacity.
Maybe he was really big in the Wii boxing league in prison, like Wii U,
Wii boxing league.
like Wii U, like there's something.
I would have liked to have seen that. Yeah, put a couple controllers in my face. Let's go.
Nunchucks. It's all right, John. How do you now that you already killed me? So what's your rating of the Creed movies?
The Creed movies?
Those are my 3, John.
No, I haven't rewatched 1. I watched 2 right before.
I watch 1 every year, minimum once.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched 1 in a bit, but I think 1 still goes on top, and then this one goes second, and then third is the Creed.
Rob?
2. I've been
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
That's it.
So,
so
John,
1, 2, Rocky Balboa, Creed 3.
let's go back to the Rocky films. I dropped the gauntlet saying Creed is the best of the Rocky franchise. Are you disputing me? What is the best film of the Rocky franchise?
I think the actual best film of the Rocky franchise is the first one. If you're going by, you know, writing, acting, all that kind of stuff. But if you're talking about just what do you put in to watch?
When was the last time you watched Rocky 1?
It's been actually, I think I watched it a couple years ago when they started rehashing all this stuff. But for me, the one that I watched the most is Rocky 4 and Rocky 3. Rocky 4 taking the top spot, of course, just because Ivan Drago. I used to own like 3 or 4 different Ivan Drago shirts at one point. So
okay,
and
so
didn't you tell me you had like this weird like infatuation with Brigitte Nielsen as well, that you were like, please, like you.
No, that was you, buddy. That was you,
Rob.
Well, it's interesting because actually, if you were to watch Rocky, the first one, and then the first Creed, I think they pair well together. It's just unfortunate that Creed is so heavily influenced by number 4 because obviously Apollo dies. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if it wasn't for that, I think that Rocky and Creed together, they make a pretty decent, you know, Saturday night combo. So you almost have to do Rocky 4, and then Creed, to be honest with you, to get like the perfect trilogy. So is Creed the better of the Rocky franchises? I like Rocky 1, but I think I have to agree with you, Stu. I think I have to say Creed is probably, because I feel like it takes the best parts of the Rocky franchise and then elevates it so that you remember how good those movies were, like the ones that they reference, and then builds upon it. So I think, yeah, you have to go with Creed, the first one.
I think that Rocky 1, we have to say always the caveat, it's a movie of its age, and that's what hurts it. I think that when it was filmed and when it was done, you can appreciate it as a classic film. But now, if you were to have that problematic relationship with Adrian and Rocky, like it's rough. Like rewatching it, you're like, ooh, this is
Did they recap a lot of Rocky 4 in Creed?
Sorry?
Did they recap a lot of Rocky 4 in Creed? I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a while.
No.
Like, they don't lay that groundwork in there.
They're like, oh, they talk about how he's the son and they fought and he died, but it's not that.
It's kind of established, yes. So you could use it as a new jumping.
But you don't even have to watch the movie to know that this thing. It's like, oh, your father died fighting that man. Like, don't do it. Like, again, don't do it for him. You're doing it for another reason. Like,
but I feel like Rocky doesn't have as much impact without all those previous films. You just Sylvester Stallone playing an older dude that's kind of beat down.
But I think if you were to if you wanted to have like a 3-movie night, and you wanted to be in this universe, I think Rocky 4 and Creed are probably the 3 best movies in which to complete like a really cool story. Because yes, as much as they don't harp on what happened in number 4, you don't understand the friction that Adonis has with Rocky without because of all that, right? It would make no sense. So, there is some residualness.
Nonetheless, I think Rocky still has its moments. I think as a rewatch, it's difficult at times. I don't see that difficulty in Creed. But because
and minus the nostalgia factor too, right?
Yeah, it's just filmed today with today's standards and mentality, where everything is just done. You have digital editing now, and you have better cameras and better everything. So it just feels, sounds, looks kind of more crisp and polished. I'm sure if Rob was to drop those 2 movies in front of his kid right now, I could imagine he'd be like, why would he even ask a question? Creed is the best film compared to Rocky 1. Yeah. So, yeah.
I know, but I do think, though, that's maybe Rocky being the example, but there are a lot of good movies from the 70s and 80s, and even before that obviously did not benefit from crisp, clear picture and editing software and everything else, but they're still really good movies. So I just think we have to be careful that we can't paint older movies, because guys, we're coming up to 30 years since Pulp Fiction. Does Pulp Fiction no longer hold up because it's a 30-year-old film? Those are but
I think it's a little different because some period films like The Godfather will stand the test of time because it's a true period piece. And that one, every time you're in the 70s and 80s, it somewhat feels still too close as somehow reason than the 1940s, the 50s, the 60s. There was kind of this level of, I guess, this curve of believability, and usually it's like when you get to the 60s, everything behind that you're kind of like, okay, I can see this. Somehow the 70s and 80s don't hold up to the test of time. Just anything for those time periods, it just look and sound just off. And even some movies from the 90s, I don't know what it is, but it is something about it compared to I'm not saying it's Lawrence of Arabia, because that was filmed much further away, but again. All right, John, final thoughts of this film, because clearly we're all kind of mixed about this. What are your final thoughts?
I enjoyed it, and I think it does propel. You can't have Rocky in every single Rocky movie if you're going to continue this franchise, which is what I believe their intention to do, is to keep things like this alive and going. And to see.
So you want more Michael B. Jordan? You want him to go out again, to fight?
I think I'm okay with Michael B. Jordan's story ending, and you assume that his family moves on to whatever it's doing. I just kind of like it set in this modern setting. I like them diving more into whoever the villain is of the movie. We got a little taste of it with the Drago character. I feel like this Jonathan Majors character, we got a little bit more. And if we had a little bit more time with him, maybe it is because of COVID or whatever. That character could have been really fleshed out a lot more, and you would have been really torn at the end on who you were rooting for.
So,
and I think
John, if I pitched you Amara, MMA, Creed, that's the next trilogy. Are you on board, or can you not? Does it have to be boxing?
No, I think it can be any physical sport. Yeah, I'd be down any, especially now that with the popularity of MMA.
No, with any sport. It's a boxing film. All the Rocky films are boxing.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like any sport you can sell with this.
If it's Amara doing this, are you then her child? Let's call him, let's call him let's call him Apollo, just because of thinking Apollo Creed in the slap league. You're fine with that too, because
okay. But if you remade Over the Top and did the slap league instead of using the arm wrestling, you could 100% do that. But no, okay. So maybe you're right. Maybe this has to be boxing, but You know, Hustle has the exact Rocky formula, and it was done with basketball, and it was hella fun and enjoyable. So I don't know. I feel like he can still go on, but I like this setting. But with that, I don't know if I have to see Adonis's journey anymore.
Wow, we turned you because you.
I was gonna say you were all hype.
I would watch Jonathan Majors, the Damon's journey, or if that Drago spinoff happens, it has to be somewhat interested. Although I felt that character wasn't as hot as they wanted him to be in that second movie. Unless
they call him Thunderlips, I don't think Rob cares. If that's the Damian Thunderlips, Anderson.
I want to see Clubber Lang back. That's who I want to see back. Clubber Lang and Damian maybe.
That was a rumor before when Creed first came out, when there was like, oh, it's gonna be Clubber Lang, and yeah, we missed it. Rob, your thoughts? Would you watch Namara Creed?
Nope.
You're out.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm hoping this is the end of it. I don't think we need to continue. Because it then becomes what the other Rocky movies became, which were just like parodies, like total jumping of the shark, right? Like it,
women's boxing is a different animal. It's a different thing. It's give exposure to them. And she's deaf, so this is a whole new experience. You could justify at least one film.
Yeah, I think
a Rocky film, someone with a disability, fighting, boxing, can't hear the bell. Doesn't know when to stop. There's some things about that.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't need to.
So what if they brought Clubber Lang and Thunderlips as the ringside people to like give her what character has to come back? What if it was the Robot Butler? The Robot Butler from Rocky is back.
Right.
And it's helping them all.
No, Rob wants the wife. Rob wants a spin-off movie with Ivan Drago's wife. Bridget, what's her name? Yeah. He wants that spin-off. He wants to see what she was doing when she walked out.
Yeah, I want her to revise her Red Sonja role. No, honestly, we don't need any more characters that are derivative of this franchise. I think it's time to just call it, the bell has rung on Creed. Time to move on.
TKO.
As John would say, I didn't hear no bell. So that's what John's response is. All right. Tell us, John, where to find you in the business of the real and where to find you on the internet.
Yeah, on socials, Instagram, Facebook, the YouTube, Heroes World Online. Thank you, everybody, for always following, subscribing. Check it out. If you haven't listened to us on the audio, on the go, we are available on iTunes and Spotify, Heroes World Podcast. And if you want to check us out in the desert of the real, as Andre liked to say, 8601 Warden Avenue in Markham, Ontario. Tons and tons of stuff on our shelves. All kinds of cool stuff. A lot of anime and manga related items. So if you're into that jam, hit us up.
Rob, what's going on the Sidekick Show?
Yeah, so this Monday night, 8:15 p.m. live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter or Twitch or whichever one John decides to put up that day. It's John and I on the Heroes World Sidekick Show. And this week, we are commencing a 2-week battle, a Creed-style battle between Denzel Washington and Denzel Washington. We are going mano-a-mano with Man on Fire versus The Equalizer. Which Denzel Washington revenge movie is the best? And we're starting off this Monday, 8:15 p.m. With The Equalizer, which I believe is on a bunch of different. I think
Prime.
It might be on Amazon Prime right now in Canada. So you can definitely check it out there. I think it's also on the CTV Movies app. If you don't want to pay for a streaming service, you can watch that with ads. But definitely watch The Equalizer, directed by Antoine Fuqua. And then join John and I as we discuss it. And then next week, we're going to do the Man on Fire.
The Equalizer again. We're going to do it twice in a row. 2. We're going to do the TV show and then do Equalizer 2.
Nope. So we'll see. So anyways, that's it. That's Monday night live, 8:15 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Please support your local stores if possible. Like, subscribe, link, all those, make comments, do all those things. Let us know whether we're right or wrong. Yeah. Whether you think that Creed is the best or the worst. Please help us out. Thanks, everyone.
Please make sense of the plot.